This is Lemon's Car Spotting. You post to Instagram with the hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting. We pick the hooptiest.
They are so incredibly terrible.
And which one we want to become a real Lemons build.
It does car-like things. We've been pushing for one of those in Lemons too, and those are very affordable.
Hey, welcome to Lemon's Car Spotting. I am Eric, and that is Nick over there. And this is the show on the 24 Hours of Lemons YouTube channel, as you no doubt can tell, where we talk about the cars that you guys spot on the street. All you got to do, take a photo of a car you see when you're out and about, tag it with hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting. We'll take a picture of it, and we will talk about them right here. We will at the end pick out the car that we think is the hooptiest and the car that we think should be built for Lemons. And Nick over there is going to be the one who picks them for us this week.
We have a proprietary picking system. Eric will be doing the selection, and this is how it works. You got the Lemons car build over here and the hooptiest over here. Eric, close your eyes. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
I think I hiccuped and did two lefts in a row. In any case, you're doing the Lemons build. I'm doing the hooptiest. I think the pressure just got to me. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
All right.
It's like Game 7 of the World Series.
I know. I locked up. All right. Here we go. Off to a smashing start.
Oh.
Now, boy, this is a city car, right? CITI?
Yeah, I can't remember who made them, but yeah, it says right on the B pillar.
Oh, yeah.
Call any part of the car a pillar.
Yeah. So these are an all-electric car made when? I don't know, early 80s?
Yeah, like around circa 1980, I think, lead acid batteries and, forklift motor.
It's funny to laugh about these early electric cars now because the tendency for electric cars was we have to make them look super weird or quirky or futuristic, and that's how we will get people to be excited about them. When, of course, when it comes to cars, most people are super boring, and they just want a car that looks like a normal car and works like a normal car, and if it's electric, then hey, great. So these early versions are definitely a little bit, they missed the mark, I would say. Although, to be fair, some other electric companies were converting existing fine automobiles like the Plymouth Horizon TC3 into all-electric machines as well. So you really had the different options. But yeah, if there's anything that Toyota Prius told us is that, yeah, people want the boringest possible thing. And if it gets good mileage, so much the better.
Yeah. Just looking at the way this thing is assembled, like the A pillar, again, phrase used loosely here, is super cheap metal, maybe.
Like angle iron.
Yeah, it looks, exactly. And then the trim work around the back is definitely a piece of angle iron.
Yeah.
And then the roof is a padded piece of plywood, I would go ahead and guess.
Yeah, not a bad guess. Yeah, and you can see the external door hinges are like from a kitchen cabinet.
Yeah.
So all of that said, this has to be the nicest city car I've ever seen. It's got the aftermarket alloys going. It's got the stripe kit. I mean, this one's ready for the city car concours d'elegance.
Yeah. Yeah, this would be a great Concours de Lemons entry, by the way.
Absolutely, yes. And that actually kind of segues into what I was going to say next, which is that for Lemons racing, this is going to be a no-go for a couple reasons. Primarily, I'm going to assume that the wheelbase is too short. We have an 82-inch wheelbase minimum. And secondly, boy, what's the top speed on this thing? It's 42 or something.
You wouldn't want to go 40 if that was the top speed.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And yeah, it's going to be sketchy at top speed, which is not fast, and it's only going to do it for like 2 minutes. So it would be we certainly do not shy away from speed differential in Lemons, and to Lemons drivers' credit, they have handled that for the most part very well. But this is maybe crossing over into too much speed differential between, you know, real race cars like, oh, I don't know, Ford Tempos.
That's right.
So, but as Eric mentioned, not only do we have Lemons Racing, we have Lemons Rally, which is for all street legal vehicles, but fairly long distance. So I don't know if this would be the greatest choice for that. We also have Concours de Lemons, which is a car show, and I think that that's where this would find its most proper home.
Yes.
Okie dokie. Oh. We were just talking about these.
Yeah.
So this is the Renault Alliance. How they came up with this shape and didn't call it the Renault Appliance, I don't know. But this was, of course, a little compact Renault sedan from the 80s. There was a showroom stock SCCA version. I don't know if it was actually a version or if it was just, you know, Renault sold souped up ones to people who were going to race them as a marketing tool. In any case, boy, when was the last time you saw one of these? I'm in a place where the weird cars exist, and I haven't seen one of these in months, if not years.
You know, it's an interesting thing. This is Larry Horse, who's in Chicago. That these were built in Kenosha by AMC, so they're actually fairly common-ish. My uncle owned one of these. You know, my uncle who was always after the cheapest car he could find, also bought a first model year Kia in the United States, and now owns a Lotus Elan S2, which is the front-wheel drive.
Also a Kia, I believe.
Yeah. So if these cars exist, you know, there's this weird Kenosha-based reverence for anything that AMC built, and it even includes these to a lesser extent. But, you know, it's my pops was putting these together after lunch beers. So, you know, I want to have one for whatever reason.
That's, you know, that's an interesting phenomenon. Like, obviously, you know, the history of car manufacturing here in the Bay Area, obviously General Motors had a long history, Oakland, Fremont, major manufacturing plants. Those went under quite some time ago. I don't know how much buyer loyalty there was for those cars. But then, of course, along came Numi, which was a Chevrolet-Toyota joint venture. They made the mid-'80s Nova. They made the Geo Prism. They made the Toyota Tacoma. And now, of course, it's a Tesla factory. You know, obviously, there are a lot of Toyota Tacomas and Teslas here in the Bay Area, but I don't know if that's out of geographic loyalty or if that's just like, hey, these are pretty good cars. I don't know.
Yeah. I do love, by the way, as a side, AMC built the Encore at the time, you know, the Renault Encore.
Right.
And it's mystifying what it was supposed to be the Encore 2. You know, was it the Le Car? Was there?
Well, God, now that you mentioned the Encore, what's the difference between an Encore and an Alliance?
I think the Encore was a hatchback.
Okay.
I'm gonna look that up real quick. Nope, this might be an Encore. No,
yeah, that could be an Encore.
I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend to know. And someone from Kenosha can correct
you can tell us in the comments of what the weird AMC Renault product lineup was like in 1986 or whenever this was.
Yeah.
So yeah, post that down in the comments, and we'll read about it later. Oh man, speaking of made in America,
yeah,
you got yourself a what is it? A Duster?
Yeah. Yep. It's got to be like a 75, 76 Duster towards the end, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I would go with that. You know, it's funny. We often mention our various cast of judges and Lemon staff, and it does seem like we have a lot of sort of one mark experts in the ranks of Lemon's judging. We often refer to Judge Sajeev out of Texas, who is the Malays and 80s Ford expert. But Judge Tom Hergert up there in the Pacific Northwest he runs a Rocket Resto, which is a Mopar restoration and parts place. As we would ask Sajeev to tell us what was going on with the Lincoln Versailles, we are going to ask Judge Tom Herger to tell us what's going on with this Duster.
Yeah, I will say, you know, we dump on Mopar a lot because it's really easy, but the things that they got right, they got really right. And what I love about the Dusters, the last Dusters, was they came up with some super clever marketing around them. Not least of which was building like a super lightweight one you could buy with a V8, and they called it the Feather Duster, which was just freaking brilliant.
See, you know, as most people know by this point, the 24 Hours of Lemons was born out of a 24 Hours of Lemons. It'll be like endurance racing for crappy cars. Like, oh, wait, that's a good idea. We should do it. So, like, yeah, somebody came up with a super clever name, and it was like, oh, it's too clever not to do it. So,
well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think the Feather Duster was like the last year, and you could buy it, you know, in the bicentennial colors or whatever. But, you know, like there was some dude who in like 1969 was like, "Ooh, Feather Duster. It's a great idea."
Right.
I don't know about that. You know, like finally 7 years later, it's on the way out. They're like, Feather Duster.
They might have literally been out of parts at that point. Like, we're out of seats. Let's make the Feather Duster.
That's totally valid. Yeah. Famously replaced, by the way, by the Plymouth Volare.
Oh, yeah. Immortalized in song.
That's right.
Oh, baby. God, it's what's his name from Cars?
Oh yeah, Doc.
Not even that. There was some kind of even prior to that guy. But yeah, this is some sort of 30s, 40s old stock car. Like, yeah, like what Mario Andretti would have gotten his racing career start in.
Well, two things. Mario Andretti started his career in a Hudson, and we've had the replica of that in Lemons.
That's right.
That came from an actual museum that wanted rid of it for some reason. I don't know why, but a replica of Mario Andretti's museum car has raced in Lemons. This, I think, is like a 38 or a 39 Ford, which had the really big grill.
Right.
But somebody will correct me on that.
Yeah, I think I might have found one of these in the woods in a regional park by my house that had clearly been there since 1942. Well, this, of course, I mean, this is a great piece of Americana. I mean, this goes right along with the old abandoned circle tracks you'll find in the South. The car probably has some kind of cool history. So yeah, stuff like this is super cool. To build for Lemons, boy, it's tricky. You know, it's body on frame, so actually maybe creating a good cage and safety structure for it wouldn't be impossible. As we always say, if you're doing something unconventional like this, contact us first to make sure that the safety stuff is all in order. But otherwise, as just an objet, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. Probably had a flathead Ford. In fact, I'm certain that it would have had a flathead V8 when it was racing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. This is
Back
what, a 55 panel wagon?
Yeah. It's the 150, so this would have been like the super stripper basic, as basic as you could buy.
Yeah, this would have been like what your, you know, somebody who was actually working, you know, using it as a working vehicle would have gotten something like this, you know, in the days before giant trucks and SUVs. This would have been a perfectly sensible car for a handyman or whatever.
Yeah, super duper cool. Probably a straight 6 and a 3-speed.
Yeah,
on the column.
On the tree. Yeah, you know, what is a Nomad? Because whenever I see a wagon like a Tri-5 Chevy, I always say like, hey, it's a Nomad. But I feel like that's something that's more specific than just being a Tri-5 wagon.
Yeah, so I messed all this up when I was writing for Roadkill, which
Okay.
was a hot rod property,
And you survived?
yeah, well, I got a
Get
severe
beat with a 9/16 wrench?
yeah, exactly. Not a 14, damn it. Yeah, no, it was like, look, dude, you're gonna write for anything related to hot rods, you need to know about Tri-5s. So I got assigned to write a story on identifying Tri-5s, which never ended up running, but you had the 150 and the 210 in the station wagon, sedan, or coupe. And then you had the Bel Air for the sedan and coupe. And you had the Nomad as like the top trim for the
wagon.
the wagons. So it's trim level stuff.
I see. So the body is essentially the same. It's just the fancier.
Yeah, the 150 didn't have all the side trim. And
right.
I think you could order it with a V8, but they almost all came with the inline six.
Yeah, boy, that's the thing about. I mean, certainly hot rod people and some like Porsche people are the same way. Like, there's sort of this canonical list of quote unquote obscure facts that everybody knows, and they're just waiting for somebody to screw it up. I know that when Jay and I stopped doing Corvette magazine, the letter to the audience from the new editor had something to do with, like, I remember the first time I saw a 67 split window, which of course the split window is 63 only. Everybody knows that. And he was about burned at the stake for that one. So
the 150. Go ahead.
No, you were going to wax about the 150.
I was just going to say the 150 was the one that drag racers wanted because it didn't have all the accoutrement. Didn't have the trim to take off it. So.
Yeah, and wagons have a certain drag race cachet because of the extra weight in the back for transfer and traction.
Yep, this would look cool as a gasser.
It would.
So
super cool. All right. Oh man, that's a bird, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one of the forgotten birds that when the fox body ones got all kind of curvy-ish in the mid 80s, there were these weird squared off ones between the whale shark mouth one from like the late 60s and the mid 80s, and nobody remembers anything about anything in between.
Yeah, I think you're right. However, I will say that I think that there is a certain subset of the lowrider scene that prizes this era Thunderbird, because I have definitely seen one of these on 13x7 reverse offset triple gold Z's with either white walls or Vogues, metallic paint, pinstriping, and the shape of this car does lend itself to that, I gotta say. And it's got the cool light that goes all the way across the back. Everybody's got a 6.4 Impala. Get one of these.
Yeah, I think this is like an 80. I think 80, 81. So I think it's a fox body underneath it too, but I'm not positive.
You can turn that into a nice driving car in any number of ways. All right.
Great Lemons car waiting to happen.
Oh man, back to Mopar land. This is a Not Jonah Hill in Arlington, Texas. This is a satellite. Actually, it's a satellite Sebring, according to this. And according to Not Jonah Hill, it's his mechanic's daily driver, 73 satellite Sebring. Boy, and he also asked if I took it to the Lemons race at Sebring, would it grant me free entry? This episode may or may not come out before our race at Sebring, but this year, 2021, if you bring a Sebring to Sebring, you get free entry. I would say it does qualify. We had gotten some questions from people who, like, I put a Sebring grill on my E30 BMW. Do I get free entry? Of course you don't, if that's what you're doing. But, if it's a satellite Sebring, I would say we'd let that in. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. Totally. Why not?
Why not? Indeed. Yeah. Well, if this airs and you still have time to sign up for Lemons at Sebring, this is your free ticket to entry. Just got to find them.
They're super common.
Oh, man. Speaking of Numi.
Yeah.
So there you go. That is a Numi Nova. shared mechanicals with the Corolla of the same vintage. I think it had a Toyota A Series 4-cylinder, like a 4AC, which would have been a 1.6 with a carburetor. Was there a sporty version of this? There wasn't there? That had
Yeah.
Toyota twin cam in it?
I know there was a Prism GSI.
Yeah.
I feel they made a Nova version of it.
Yeah.
So this was a Corolla that was built by GM employees at Numi. So
Yeah. Right.
mm,
Yeah. The Numi cars, I mean, I don't know about so much this one, but generally speaking, they did pretty well. The whole idea behind Numi was, for Toyota to show General Motors how to build a car, because apparently they had forgotten how to do so. And I think, in a lot of ways, that was a success. Ironically, my family, my mother's side of the family is from Detroit. And when my mom was a kid, they always had Studebakers, which of course were not made in Detroit. And then later, where Studebakers made? South Bend?
South Bend, yeah.
Yeah. And then later, my grandmother had a Plymouth Champ, which was a Plymouth, but it was really a Mitsubishi Colt. And then she had a Numi Nova, which was a Toyota Corolla made in California. And then she wound up, she finally just, all right, forget it. I'm just going to get a Honda Civic. So it was kind of amazing for somebody who, was in Detroit proper, actually managed to avoid buying Detroit cars pretty much at any point.
Yeah.
So there you go.
While buying an American nameplate. So.
Yeah. They were all American nameplates up until the Civic. Speaking of American, man, look at that thing. Mint.
Yeah, I thought it was a Trofeo at first, but it's a Calais.
Yeah.
Cutlass Calais. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a J body. No, is that right? This is the same as like a Grand Am, whatever body that is.
N body?
Yeah, so not a J body, because that's the Cavalier. This is larger than that, but smaller than a Trofeo.
It might be the same as an Achieva underneath. It's a quad 4, you can tell from the front quarter there. It's a weird grill-less kind of thing. Kind of sharp looking in its own way.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously GM's attempt to be quote-unquote Euro.
Right.
And I don't really know if they legitimately thought, people will buy this instead of a Mercedes. But I don't know. All things considered, you got to give them credit. It's not a bad-looking car. For whenever this is, it actually looks contemporary. There were quality and reliability issues of surrounding General Motors cars from this era, but I would say A for effort, graded on the GM curve.
Yeah, I mean, it's front-wheel drive and doesn't handle anything like an E30, or not convertible, but coupe.
Yeah.
But I know you could get these with a stick.
Yeah.
And with the quad 4. So, I mean, in theory, in a straight line, it would go quicker than probably a BMW.
Yeah.
And I do love those Oldsmobile wheels from the 80s.
Yeah. Also very European, BBS basket weave inspired wheels. Nice car. And surprised that it's parked in the snow, given how clean it is.
Yeah.
All right, last car for this week. Back to Kenosha. Man. So this is another car built there in Wisconsin. This is a Spirit. Is it any kind of special Spirit? It looks super tall. But I'm thinking that maybe that's because it just has 90 series aspect ratio tires on some A-Team van wheels, and that's lifted it up, that it's not actually some kind of Eagle-based four-wheel drive version.
Yeah, I think it's on like 16-inch wheels, or maybe even 15s, which are bigger than they would have come on stock. It's probably a 4-cylinder. A lot of these had the AMC 2.5 liter 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
And maybe even had the Audi one that they sourced in the late 70s.
Boy,
I don't know if I think they'd switched over to their own engine by the time the Spirit came around. But
well, you could also get an AMC straight 6 in here, right? Like a 258 also. And then there was a special version where you could get a 304.
That was the AMX.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course. Silly me. Yeah.
Right.
So famously, we had an event in the Pacific Northwest, regionally appropriate. We did a Nirvana theme. The event was called Smells Like AMC Spirit. We thought that was a funny gag. What we didn't expect for it, the first time we had that event, 4 separate teams showed up with AMC Spirits, and it was spectacular. There was one that was bone stock. There was one that was cheaty. There was one that the team had picked up on the way to the race, driving from Texas, put a roll cage in it the night before, and actually finished the highest out of the 4. And I think the 4th one was like a barn find, like, some team member's dad had one stashed away somewhere, and they tried to resurrect it, and that one didn't work very well. But in any case, we came up with this silly name, and then it inspired people to bring 4 separate AMC Spirits in not a very big field either. I mean, that's a 50 or 60 car race, and 4 of them were AMC Spirits. Naturally, the green flag was the formation of all of the AMC Spirits at once. There were only 3 because the 4th one really wasn't running. But even the picture with just the 3 of them is pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, that covers it for this week. Now it's time to pick our 2 award winners. Of course, we have the Hooptiest, self-explanatory, and the Lemons build, which is the car we want to see become a real Lemons race car. I've got the Hooptiest for this week. I am going all the way back to the beginning, and I'm going with the city car because, to be fair, this is not a Hoopty city car. This is like the nicest city car ever, but, an element of Hoopty is having a car where you park it on the street and people go, man, look at that Hoopty. And that certainly satisfies that requirement. Bonus points to whoever thought of the city car, because I think that it was probably slightly ahead of its time, given what's happening with electric cars now. But it's a weird shape. It's made out of household products and stuff from Ace Hardware, and it's still on the road in 2021. So that's my pick.
Yeah, I picture the owner of this car having people come up to him all the time being like, oh, that car is cute. Can I get a ride in it? And then, you say yes. And then the person like sits in it and they say, oh no. Oh,
I have made a mistake. That's like the first time I had the opportunity to drive a BMW Isetta. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, it's amazing. And then, like, in the first 100 feet, I was like, this is the scariest thing I've done in my life. It's like all of the downsides of a vintage Italian scooter, but then you're in the road like a real car. Like, you can't, like, pull off to the side and let people go by. It was terrifying.
Yeah, 100%. For the car we'd most like to see in Lemons, I really like the idea of just putting a cage in that Cutlass Calais and racing it exactly as it looks, because like that is the picture perfect somebody who's never been to Lemons or understands anything about it being like, how is that $500? And a GM product from the 80s that looks perfect, but obviously has all of the warts of a 1980s GM product. I think that's pretty great for Lemons. But what I want to see more in Lemons is we've never had a Tri-5 Chevy, and I feel like that Courier 150 sitting in the yard for many years. That's a great starting point.
Now that I'm looking at this picture, I get the idea that all of those cinder blocks were in the back of this thing, and it like delivered the cinder blocks, and then they went to leave, and the car would not work anymore.
Yeah.
So then they just left it there. I cannot disagree with your pick. I mean, you would get a certain amount of why you ruin classic by bringing a heralded Tri-5 Chevy to Lemon. But I mean, here's one literally sitting in a yard next to cinder blocks. So, they're not completely sacred vehicles. And as we've said a million times, running a car in Lemons is a perfectly good use of it. I mean, look at the roadkill guys. They've got an old 55 Chevy. They drive it everywhere and drag race with it. Like, what are you going to do? Put it in a museum? So, yes, I fully support this as the Lemons build of the week.
There we go. Thanks for watching Lemon's Car Spotting. And as we point out at the top of the show, you spot your car on the street, take a picture of it, tag it with Lemon's Car Spotting, and we will talk about them right here on our YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. See you next week.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be somebody on the internet that's like, that car is $10,000 where it sits. And then, like, if they had an opportunity to buy it for $10,000, well, it is too far away, and I don't have the space.
If they had the opportunity to buy it for $20, they would not go get it.
Exactly.